about Trump. Um, and look, it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say a slam dunk for us, but you've had all these incidents, these assassination attempts. And so Republicans are pretty fired up. And so the response at the door has been great. We look at the requests across the state. I put out these numbers earlier this week. If you look at 50 days from the election, which was Monday, compared to 50 days from the election in 2020, Democrats are down about 300,000 requests. Republicans are down about 50,000 requests. So when you do the math, I mean, we're looking at a net being in a better spot by 250,000. Now we're still losing with mail-in ballots, to be sure, but we don't need to win. Right? And I always tell people, Ross, I'm definitely going to get in trouble for this because in politics, you're never supposed to give a measurable target. That's the secret of the consultant class.
Sure.
Statewide Republicans, when it comes to mail-in ballots, since they've changed the rules, they typically average 20% of all the mail-in ballots for the statewide candidates. And what we're trying to do with the PHAs is take that 20% to 33%. If we do that, we can't lose. Now, we could still win with 26 or 27%, but 33%, the reason I like to aim high, if we get to 33% of the mail-in ballots for Trump versus Harris, we have solved the problem.
Yep.
So I'm not afraid to be bold about that, but that's what we're seeing on the ground right now.
Well, and it's interesting. So my background, I'm a tech entrepreneur. I always jokingly say I was in Bitcoin and Ethereum before it was cool. I wrote a book in 2016 about crypto, and I kind of look at trends and I look at data, what's sort of the hot thing going on, but also beyond the trends, what's underlying the numbers. And it's interesting, Cliff, because when you talk, I'm a data nerd, like I said, and so I look at these sort of 1 or 2%, things. And for example, we held a call with Allegheny County not too long ago with Erin Coper, is just a freaking rock star. I'm sure you know her. And the Allegheny County GOP women rock stars. If you don't follow them, please do. They just did 2,000 postcards yesterday evening. But their goal, Cliff, is sort of analogously is to take 1 or 2% of the Allegheny, which is heavily Democrat in Pittsburgh, and just bump it 2 or 3%. And that will offset a lot of those sort of, the leftist lunatics that come out of Pittsburgh, right? And actually, by the way, it's been very promising. But I like what you're saying, right? If I'm understanding you correctly, Cliff, the numbers are really that we have to just improve, period. I saw you as well as Scott, and I've been communicating with both of you guys about the idea that if we can just kind of the enthusiasm from Kamala is not as strong from what I'm seeing on the ground, or from what I'm seeing in general in Pennsylvania, a couple other states. But if we can get 2 or 3%, that will get us to a better place. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, and I think that the numbers from the requests, I mean, listen, everybody can look at polling, right? That's fine. I'm not polling, but
right.
Looking at the mail-in ballot request to understand where the energy is. And right now, if you're the Democrats, you would much rather be in the position we are, just based on the numbers that they've dropped off.
Okay. And that's important. And we're going to talk about the most important counties because we only have 48 days left, but who's counting, right? But we'll talk about the most important counties because I think we've got to narrow it and winnow it down, right, to that 5-6 counties to focus on, unless I'm mistaken here. But I do think it's important for us to as well. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to who told me to go on live stream YouTube. So in case we have any issues, I've got a few live streamers coming at me. Ross is right on YouTube. And if you look at my drink of choice and you tell me whether I've changed it, I'll send you 100 postcards. So there you go. Cliff, we like to have a good time in our X spaces. So there you go. You know what it is, guys. It's always that. But so Cliff, taking that idea, I think this is, as my pops always said, tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, right? And we've only got 48 days. So, again, maybe we're not going to beat them per se in chasing the ballot or the number of ballot requests, et cetera. But if we can increase it 5-10%, I mean, that could be a game changer, right?
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, Trump, if you look at just Trump's numbers, right? Trump did get 23% of the mail-in ballot compared to Biden in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
He only lost by 80,000 votes.
Right.
So if you just use the modeling of 2020, I mean, if he gets to 25%, he would have a shot at winning. And so that's why I tell people I think 26 to 27% were very competitive. 33% they can't win. Um, and I'm just a fan of solving problems rather than slapping on the band-aid for a quick fix. And so, I think 33 is where we need to eventually land. Hopefully it's this cycle. I want us to get in that mindset that it can't, let's stop winning by a half a point or losing by a half a point and figure out how to get this thing to really be a problem for the Democrats.
Yeah, I think that's an important one as well. And so I'm writing down my messaging because I think that's important. Well, let's talk about some important counties for a second. Okay, so I'm going to just throw some out there for you, Cliff. I've been just punching some numbers, geeking out, looking at data from from Scott, from you, from Real Clear Politics 538. I mean, the list goes on, and take it all together, crunch some numbers, look at the tabs, et cetera, et cetera. But to boil it down for all of our wonderful patriots and volunteers that are on this call, okay, we've got 48 days. I'll say it over and over again because it's just a blink of an eye, okay? I'm going to throw out some counties, right? So I'm looking at Bucks, I'm looking at Luzerne, I'm looking at Northampton, I'm looking at Center, I'm looking at Berks County, Lancaster, Erie. Of those, what do you think the top three? Where would you take the top three if we were to focus a little bit more energy, 10% more energy? Which of those? Bucks, Berks, Center, Luzerne, Northampton, Lancaster, Erie. What would be your top three? Again, no offense, guys. We just got to get down to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. What's interesting, though, Ross, that some people disagree with my strategy, and that's fine.
Okay.
To me, Trump is on every ballot. Okay, so at the end of the day, counties are important, but counties don't vote.
Mm-hmm.
Vote.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
You have to find the density. You want to go to counties you trust to count the vote. That's a whole other discussion. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, people ask me, what's the outcome of the PHAs? Is Trump? Well, no, not at all. I mean, Trump is a huge, huge part of what we're doing, but you've also got the Senate seat with Dave McCormick. You've got Garrity, you've got DeFore, you've got Dave Sunday, you've got all these statewides.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly, once again, they're on every ballot. And so these guys love us because we've got 120 full-time staffers that are chasing ballots, and they're on every ballot because we're in Pennsylvania.
True. Yeah.
What really matters to me, and not what really matters, but on top of that, you have other battles that I think are significant. Let me start off with the first one. So Scott Perry in Central PA, he is a top target of the Democrats to take out. And to be frank, he is one of the best members of Congress. Former Freedom Caucus chairman, rock solid voting record, hardcore anti-establishment, just a true believer, right? And so we have 3 of our 10 Airbnbs in his district. 30% of our effort is within Scott Perry's congressional district because it's that important to us.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll share is flipping the state house. You've got people on this call. I think I see Micah Goring and Scott Barger, both candidates who have the Republican nomination for state house seat. Scott's in a red district. Micah is in Erie, trying to really, really flip a seat that I think we can. He's got a full endorsement as well as Scott with the work that we're doing. But the state house is the other place we're targeting, right? So the other houses are set up in areas where we can focus in, obviously helping the statewide tickets, but also killing 2 birds with 1 stone, trying to take back the state house. Remember, Republicans are down 1 vote in the Pennsylvania state house. We need that state house to hold Josh Shapiro accountable.
Yeah.
So there are certain counties, look at the work that Scott Presser's done and other folks, Turning Point and all these groups to flip Bucks County. I don't take any credit for that.
Well, and so yeah, no, listen, I mean, it's 10 trillion permutations to get to a different end, which is Trump winning, right? So totally fine. I love the contrarian thinking. I remember being in some startups before in the tech space where somebody asked me, who's your competitor? I was like, everybody, right? Anybody that takes eyeballs off of my product and that's not on theirs, right, as a competitor. And so it's all sort of so important, right, from a relative objective standpoint. And it's so I'm looking at the pivot or boomerang counties, right, and those tend to be sort of Erie, Luzerne, and Northampton. Which, by the way, I just want to throw this out there, guys. Please pay attention. Tommy and a couple other people have made some really important points, and I don't need to be politically correct. I'm doing this because I love Trump, and I'm part of the national group, and we're fighting like hell because we're going to win, and we're going to win this country back. But let me be very clear. I think there's some deficiencies that need to be addressed today in the GOP and the Philly GOP. I've given thousands myself personally to the Pennsylvania GOP, as well as some of the counties. I'm not seeing any activity out of Northampton County. I'm not seeing any activity out of Philly GOP. We need to offset. And again, if we focus on counties or what, it's sort of arbitrary, Cliff. But I am getting uh, I've gotten at least 50 to 100 messages, no joke, in the last 3 weeks saying, what the hell's going on in Philly? What's going on in Northampton? There's some concerned Trump voters and volunteers, right? That's like the ultimate Trump voter. There's some concerned people, Cliff. I mean, are any of their concerns validated with the Philly GOP? Which again, we're not trying to win Philly, but I'd like to win 25% of Philly. You know what I mean? Or Northampton, which is just such a mega important pivotal county. Like, are you seeing anything that we're seeing in any of the concerns that we have? I think he got cut off. Hey, Cliff, can you hear me? Would anybody raise their hand, make sure our sound is good? And I am streaming this on YouTube. So it's always a backup. And I did post the link right within the primary post. Okay, Remzo, thank you, brother. I know you're going to be one of the speakers at one point too, I promise. But guys, I want you to share, and I want you to do me a huge favor while Cliff gets the audio back going. Reach out to some of these counties and kick them in the ass, because Northampton County is one of the most pivotal counties in the state of Pennsylvania. Period. End of story. Okay. We have to start throwing our weight behind some of these neglected counties, and it's not on. It's on some of the party leaders. Okay. You need to call them. You need to be calling Luzerne, figuring out what the hell's going on. It looks like we've solved the ballot drop off. Nice win. Beautiful. I love it. In Luzerne, but we've got to be holding these counties accountable, no pun intended. And so I know, Tommy, you've been fighting for this as well. The Philly GOP, who I've given thousands of dollars to, what a waste. I'd rather give it to PA Chase and early vote action and turning. And literally, I'd rather give it to a homeless person on the street at this point versus giving it to the Philly GOP. I haven't heard a word from them. Okay, so guys, oh, by the way, there are some people like Keith outside of Philly who's a great volunteer who's been fighting for Philly. So I want to give him credit, but from a party standpoint, it's not been there. Anyway, as Cliff gets us back, there's some things that I'm going to be kind of talking about, and I want you guys to view me as a resource for bringing this all together. My goal within the Trump campaign is to sort of be an umbrella for Turning Point Action, for the PA Chase, as well as for early vote action. Much love. Y'all know you're my homies. Wait till you see how many postcards and stamps I'm sending out. I'm going to post a photo tomorrow for you postcard warriors. But I have love for all of you. But I think now's the time to really hone it down into county specific focus, because we only have 48 days. If you have comments, please post them in the thread. And I'm going to be just sort of reading through them as Mr. Cliff gets his audio back. I'm going to be reading through. And if you're streaming on YouTube, you can see I was getting real passionate because it gets me, man. Like, we've only got 48 days, and like some of these PA chairmen who I've literally given money to, who cares how much, but just my heart and my soul into this is just nothing is going on. Like Alcides Perez, thank you. He said Northampton County is where we live. There's nothing going on there. But go look, type in pivotal counties in Pennsylvania in the old Google machine. And guess what comes up? Erie, Luzerne, and Northampton. And nothing is happening in Northampton County. Now, again, I think Cliff is right. Don't specifically always focus on the county per se, but that area, if you want to call it that area, there's virtually no momentum. Guys, post on this Twitter space and prove me wrong, but I'm not seeing anything there. The Philly GOP, total joke. We got to start fighting for every county. You got to hold these people accountable. All right. I also see thank you to Charlie Sue, who's posted within the comments thread of this chat about Project Amplify. No, I can't technically give to that group, but they're good people. So if you got 10, $50, we have a match on this particular X Space. If you guys want to post a donation to PA Chase, please do that, and I will match up to a certain amount. And then yeah, Alcides, I hear you, brother. Tommy, congrats on winning the I already got 100 postcards for you, but yeah, that's the Fresca Black Cherry Citrus. All my Trump patriots out there, what are your concerns? Let me bring in a couple more speakers and say hello. I just saw Mr. I want to hear uh let's see here. Let's hear from, bear with me one second, guys. I'm gonna hear. I'm gonna invite Ray because Ray's always got so much love on his post out there. Remzo, I'm gonna invite you in as well. Remzo, how are you doing today, sir? All right. As you guys are being asked to come on, just hop in and I'll just go through my stream of thought because I'm pumped up today, man. I woke up this morning hot and heavy, ready to rock and roll. Uh, I found all my best videos. If you don't follow me already, go follow me at Ross Blankenship. You can follow me Ross is Right on YouTube, as well as TikTok. Man, my TikTok has been blowing up. I posted a video of Harris Faulkner today calling out the BS of Murphy, Patrick Murphy out of PA. I please, if you follow me on Ross is Right on TikTok, you're gonna love that video. It got like 20,000 views and probably 3 hours. Please follow me on TikTok as well. Let's see, Jim Pfaff. I hope I pronounced your name right. I'm going to invite you in. How are you, Jim? Welcome to the Ross. Ross is pumped. Ross is right, ready to kick some ass and win in November. How are you, sir? All right, Jim, take your time. I hope people can hear me, by the way. I feel like I'm hopping in here and saying anything. Let me see. Let me go through some of my homies that have always jumped on my calls, and I'm so blessed to invite. I'm gonna invite let's see, Christian Heinz. You're welcome to join anytime. Say hello. Oh, good. People can hear me. This is beautiful. And if you can't, by the way, no excuse because my YouTube stream, Ross is Right, is going live. I always want to say hi to Sherry. Maybe that's just selfish of me. Sherry, how are you? You've been invited as a speaker, so come say hello because you're such a postcard warrior and we're so blessed to have you. Oh, I got four. Here we go. That's the drink, guys. That's it right there. That'll keep you hydrated. I'm sponsored. All right. Tommy, I'm going to invite you to say hello as always. Good to hear from you, brother. I fought for you, brother. Did you hear my conversation about the Philly GOP? All right. Well, we're going to just bring in here people. Let's see what people are saying here in the thread. I am live on YouTube. I see people streaming. If you don't follow me there, you're crazy because I post the best shorts all the time. Hey, Sherry.
Hey Ross, sorry, I was just had to shut the door. My husband just got home and was watching something. So you don't want to listen to that.
Now your husband's being loud and obnoxious like me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you know what's funny is he comes up now instead of asking me what's for dinner, he asked me how many postcards I wrote.
That's the guy. That's the best question ever, man. Not what's for dinner. What? How many postcards, baby?
That's what he wants to know now. So that's the way it is until now, until I guess the polls close. So glad to hear the spaces. Thanks again for all the support you give all of us.
Absolutely. Talk to us. Give us some updates. I'm seeing some beautiful cards coming out of your area. What have you been up to?
I've been doing Pennsylvania, but I also kind of went over to Turning Point for a little while, and I'm sending out to Wisconsin because that's where eventually we're leaving California for Wisconsin. So
Nice.
some love to Wisconsin too. So I'm approaching my 800.
Damn. Love it.
So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Love it. I have been in touch with every post office in the area, and I go in there, and people are so like, they see me with my Trump hat, which is the best hat ever. It's streaming right now. You see that beautiful camouflage, the real one, not the Harris Walls one, by the way, that not the fake one. And I go in there with my hat, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are sending a lot of postcards. You bought 2,000 stamps." I'm like, "Yeah, we are. We're fighting the battle, aren't we?" Well, we got to keep fighting, right? And so one of the things I want to post to you guys because I'm a data nerd and I hope Cliff can rejoin us. I'm still going to bring him support no matter what, and we can do another space if his audio doesn't hop back. But I want to tell you guys this: the call to action is very simple. I'm starting to see some data. I'm starting to see it sort of that drop 1 or 2%, et cetera. I don't want you to panic. My gosh, guys, This is something Jeremiah Watson is a rock star. He's like 16. He writes postcards from Vermont. I don't know if you've seen him on a space before. Maybe he's on this call, but he's such a legend. And he does a lot of reweighting of polling averages. Follow him, Jeremiah Watson. And I talked to him about this the other day on a polling call we had. Is do not panic about the polls. Okay. Do not panic. The same time in 2020 and 2016, we were down 4 to 8%. Now it's maybe 1 or 2%. And remember, national polls are not state polls. What does that mean? Well, national poll takes into account people from California. People, no offense to some of my favorite Trump volunteers, they know they're trying to get out of California. The national polls where you'll see him down 4, 5, 6%, et cetera. That takes the states, the leftist lunatics, like some in California or Portland or Oregon, et cetera, and it's a collective aggregated body. Okay. So if you're seeing a poll, you're like, oh my God, we're losing, or your husband or your wife is like, are you sure you want to do this? Forget about it. Listen, we're winning. We're winning this by a long shot. Here's why. About 2.75 to 3.25% of the electorate is a Trump supporter who's unwilling or unable and not wanting to talk to a pollster. Okay. Which, by the way, makes sense. So if you're seeing these polls, you're like, oh my gosh, we're down, Johnny, we're down. Yeah, back up. We need backup. Guys, listen, the backup's here. His name's Ross. Ross is right. His name's Cliff Maloney. His name's Scott Pressler. His name's Charlie Kirk. Okay, we're battling. You have your heroes. We don't all wear capes, baby. But by the way, if you're watching me and you can tell me which superhero I'm showing up right now, okay, the first person to tell me what superhero that is, I'll send you 100 postcards so you can send postcards for Trump. What's that? That's it. That's all you get. Okay, but we're all battling, guys. And so I think this has happened. I was traveling down to Austin this past weekend. And my wife, who's, by the way, much smarter than me, but that's another story. She's my better 3/4. She's like, how's he doing? And I was like, well, babe, I think we're gonna win this. We're gonna win this thing. She's like, I said, my brother called us in 2015. He said Trump was gonna win the moment he announced. You know, I'm looking at the data, the tabs, the art, Real Clear Politics. I'm looking at all this data. And at the end of the day, guys, we're still there. We're winning. And a lot of the hidden Trump voter, which is I calculate about 2.75 to 3.3, give or take, is the number of people that refuse to talk to pollsters. Wow, what a surprise. You know why? Because the pollsters are people like Frank Luntz with the crooked toupee. Sherry, you know you like that reference. So don't panic. Stop the nonsense. Keep fighting. Yesterday I posted, I said, I want 10 more postcards today. I want 10 more phone calls. I want 10 more text messages. I want 10 more doors knocked. So again, that's my passion for polling. Who else? Cliff, are you back, brother? And if not, I'm still going to promote the hell out of you, and I'm going to get you your volunteers.
Ross, I think everybody can hear me, but you can. Are you able to hear me?
Oh, jeez, man. So I couldn't hear you one word, man. I hope that wasn't awkward.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I think all of us were talking, and sometimes you got muted or something, but we're all here, and I appreciate you diving in there. Let me just answer that one question.
Yeah.
Just about, do we have concerns in certain counties? So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're finally operating the way Democrats operate, which is, the national party should be in charge of bringing in the dollars for the attorneys and really setting up, what I would call not just lawyers on call, but understanding poll watchers, understanding poll workers. You've got Scott's group handling registration. I mean, Scott's group does it all, to be frank with you. But we're here, our objective is the 80,000 that we lost by in 2020 and the 141,000 Republicans who requested a mail-in ballot and never sent it back. That's what we're trying to solve at the DHA.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can ignore all the election integrities. It's just that's, I'm not bringing in attorneys, but at the end of the day, some of these counties, I mean, we're having major battles. Like you said, Luzerne County, just get rid of their drop box. They happen because of pressure from the grassroots.
Yeah.
So if you don't see that type of stuff, it's not going to lead to good results. So I don't think we can turn a blind eye. Everybody's got to have what they're focused on, and we got to make sure that, we're hitting them at all angles.
Well, thank you, Cliff. And my YouTube stream has that recording, what I was going over. I was going over polling, but I think what you're saying is so important. I think, And another thing I want to throw out there for everybody, I've been talking about this, Cliff, for the last, oh God, 3 weeks. And some of my postcard warriors, I think I have like 70 or 80 that I send resources to or I connect with on a daily basis. And um, one of the things that we have to start doing is unifying our messaging, right? I think there's a little bit of franticness from the national to the local grassroots. And yes, okay, so the big issues are, the economy, inflation, which Kamala is all a part of and can't distance herself from. It's the border, it's immigration, right? And the tragedies that happened down with Jocelyn and Nungari and Lake and Riley and just the beautiful people that that have been taken from us because of the border czar's failure. But there's also a third thing, Cliff, that I always talk about, and this is direct from some of the campaigns. So Pennsylvania, can everybody? I hope you now, Cliff. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So two things. One, every single human being on this call, listen carefully. Stop using PA voter services immediately. Do not use it. Use swampthevoteusa.com/PA. Again, swampthevoteusa.com/PA. Why? Because the PA voter services is run by Josh Shapiro, period. End of story. Now, we may disagree on that. I'm not sure where you stand on it, but I'm telling you right now, if we want to start tracking voter data, okay, beautiful. Okay, good, because we didn't coordinate this, but I'm seeing the sites down recently. My postcard warriors, I'm getting 100 messages, and I'm just like, oh shit, we got to do something. So number one, every single one of you guys, start bringing every voter to swampthevoteusa.com/PA. Obviously, go donate to phase.com, but beyond that, please, of all the things, so on your postcards, on your memes, on your door knocking, if you meet with somebody, fill them out right there, because as soon as you do the Trump campaign, we can start sending you we can start keeping this in the database and notifying you when the ballots are ready to go. By the way, they're ready in Montgomery County, right? So number one. And then Cliff, did you have any I know you agree to that, but did you want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, I just comment that I think, giving our stuff to Josh Shapiro is in no way a solution, right? So keeping these things in-house, I think, we're finally adapting, not as a party, but just across the board for all these strategies. So I think it's very much needed, and I totally agree. Everybody should use it.
Beautiful. So I mean that's just a unification thing. It's a simple thing. Put them on your postcards. Stop putting PA voter services. Just trust me on this. Like I hate to use the word trust me, but it's true. I mean, it's got to stop, because I was on the plane from Austin and I saw this, like, Marcella, who's grandma _ I'm done. I'm sure you've come across her, right, Clip? She's done like 4,000 postcards. She's like a superhero, sending them from California because she wants to be rescued from this disastrous state. So number one, swampthevoteusa.com/PA. Put it on your postcards from now until election day. We need to send 1 million postcards. Cliff is going to knock on you said 500,000 doors? Is that right?
500,000. That's correct.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, we're going to do it. The second thing is an acronym. Okay. Now, an acronym that I want you all to remember. Okay. So this is something to remember. How do you connect with Pennsylvania? What the hell matters in Pennsylvania? Who's your demographic? Right. And so I posted some QR codes that I geeked out one early morning that you can use. It brings you to swampthevoteusa.com/PA. But it's MAGAs. Ready? MAGAs. It's moms, Amish, gun owners, adjacent to cities, and students. Okay, MAGAs. That is everybody listening on this call. Write that down. This is raw. This is from me, but it's been approved. Ready? MAGAs. Moms, Amish, gun owners, adjacent to city, and students. Penn State, University of Pittsburgh. Oh my God, man, they killed it at the Charlie Kirk TP action event. But that's something to remember, because a lot of times you're like, oh shit, I don't know. Do I talk to my neighbor next door, or who the hell's that? I mean, if you're a mom out there and you're listening to this call and you happen to be fortunate enough to be in the great state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I want you to realize you can host events for other mothers, for moms. We all share things in common. Dads, we share our dad bods. I mean, who knows? But the point is, get together with other moms and start to write postcards using the Turning Point Action app or the Early Vote Action app, etc. Um, as well. Or a Cliff, don't you guys have a door knocking feature in your app?
Yeah, so Turning Point, Vote Action app, and the PA Chase app, we all share from the same feed.
Okay,
So,
that's what I
you know, we
thought.
have tons of different stuff on there. Yeah, and look, we're agnostic. I don't care if everybody uses Scott's app or Charlie's app.
Beautiful.
As long as using the app, that's all I care about.
Thank you. Well, you're a winner, and I love to hear that, man. That makes me so happy because politics is oftentimes the biggest ego in the room, you know. But thank you so much, Cliff. That's really awesome. So all three of them, just pick one of them, okay? Amish, right, and Lancaster, right? That county, you know, there's probably. I mean, have you guys? I mean, I can only imagine the Amish people whose freedoms have been so repressed and taken away. Cliff, how important is the Amish vote?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So next week we actually really dive in and start. We have a whole Amish component. Scott has been working to register them, and then we're working to chase their ballots. So, you know, I think it's a lot bigger than people think.
Yeah.
The other reason it benefits us is, guess what? Scott Perry, Congressman Perry, has a Amish community in his district, and so he's not Lancaster County, but we're also going to hit Lancaster County. But you know, he's got counties that have Amish in. So it is, you know, it's going to be something that we're going to focus on. I know we got Christian Hines on the call, who's our data guy. And, you know, we've been running a lot of different numbers, not necessarily specific to Amish, but yeah, next week we will start direct Amish outreach, which, you know, I grew up in Delaware County outside of Philly. I worked at a farmer's market. And for me to think that, you know, some of the folks I was working with selling produce are going to be the ones that put
That's right.
It's a small world, man.
Isn't it cool though? And but I mean, you know, what an incredibly hardworking group of people, and you know, just incredible product makers and manufacturing. I mean, we've lost all manufacturing in this country, you know, and to know people that are doing some simple, basic work to change, you know, the lives of others and in the Amish community, wonderful to see. Gun owners, right? So look. By the way, log into my YouTube stream, guys, and I do these trivias. By the way, if you can see what my collection in the background is. Okay, check out that guy right there. I'm a huge gun owner. Obviously, you know, grew up in East. I grew up in Texarkana, Texas, so I'm on the border of Arkansas. So we know a few things about guns, and you know, big Second Amendment guy. But I posted a video, Cliff. I don't know if you saw it today, but I posted a video about Kamala and her Newscomb had a, you know, one of these behind the scenes meetings about saying, well, almost verbatim, by the way, that she was going to knock on people's doors and make sure that they're, you know, gun compliant or take away their guns. Did anybody see that video? Cliff, I don't know if you saw it.
No, I don't think I'm too familiar with it.
Well, the Gun Owners of America posted it on their Twitter profile, and I took it and I sort of distributed it across my platform. But essentially, what it was is Kamala was saying, if you're not gun compliant, I'm going to knock on your door and we're going to come in and take your gun. I mean, it couldn't be. I mean, that's almost verbatim. It was so bad, right? I mean, that should lose her the election. Period. In a story. But on my acronyms, we talked about moms, we talked about Amish. As you said, you guys are we're going to be targeting a little bit, but gun owners. What is the on the ground effort? I see Ellis, Dukart. I see a few really phenomenal people out there with gun owners. But what are you seeing? Do you guys have a strong presence in some of the gun owner shops, Cliff?
Yeah, so I'm going to be honest with you, and you're going to laugh at me, Ross. The answer is no. What I mean by that is we need a presence there.
Okay.
For those that are registering voters, our effort is targeted directly at the door for those that have a ballot. Scott and Turning Point so much dang credit because you know I'm seeing videos daily where they're not just at, you know, gun shows or gun stores. I mean, Scott's in parking lots, you know,
I know.
Registered to vote. So I think the hunters, you know, Scott's been on that, showing how many people, you know, register in terms of hunting, but aren't registered to vote. And I think he's closed that gap tremendously. But I do think that's an effort that is just low hanging fruit. It's pretty brutal.
Well, and I posted, you know, I guess I can reveal it was me, but I posted a thread post on PA gun owners, which is like 10,000 members about a month ago. It blew up. I mean, it was just like the most comments they've ever had in Reddit. on PA gun owners, and it was about getting people turned on to, early vote action, et cetera, and very overwhelmingly supportive because gun owners just don't vote enough, right? I mean, I think there's 400 plus thousand, 300, 400,000 that are not voting. And by the way, they're low propensity technically, because if they voted in 2 of the last 4 elections, but they're not voted recently, I mean, they are still such low hanging fruit. So if anybody on this call knows somebody who owns a gun shop or is I'm part of a couple gun clubs here. It's like $100 a year. You show up and you shoot skeet, etc. Pigeon, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you're from, pigeon or ski, but or clay, right? But my point is, please connect with gun owners, because part of my acronym of MAGAs, Moms, Amish, gun owners could be my acronym of MAGAs, Moms, Amish, gun owners. Gun owners could be the difference of this election. Tommy, thank you for posting in the chat section statistics about just how 80,000, was the differential. Because if you got 400,000 gun owners, if we can get 25-30% of them to vote this time that didn't vote last time, that also could be the election. So it's little things that make a big difference. And then in terms of adjacent to cities, right? So Cliff, when I talk about adjacent to cities, what count, again, I hate to focus on counties, but it does sort of bring us home here. What do you think about counties that offset Allegheny, like just off the cuff, that are important areas, if you will, if you don't want to call them counties, but where should we be focusing to offset that sort of the lunacies of the big cities?
Yeah, well, let's start with Pittsburgh. So we have 3 target districts out there. I could pull them up, but there are 3. I think 2 are offense and 1 is defense, to try to take the House back. Outside of Philadelphia, I mean, Bucks County, you've got Delaware County where there's a big race. I mean, to me, once again, we look at state house races, and I think that the county trends, the reason they're so important, Ross, the reason I agree with you, is because I think a lot of the counties not just show the momentum, also, control of the county for election integrity is important. Having some of these counties where the people that are counting the votes, the people that are running the elections, it's not just they can be trusted, but that if we were to win there, just in the county races, let's say next year, over the next couple of years, it makes a significant difference for what we're doing. And look, when I think of Bellwether, if we win Bucks County, I think we win the state. I think that, when you look at Bucks County, I think it shows you the momentum. It shows you where people are headed. I think it is kind of a rejection to the Biden-Harris administration and their policies. But honestly, if Christian Hines, I mean, Christian, he pulls the data more than I do on kind of some of the things happening in inner cities and how they're losing support in a way that Democrats are not used to, because some of that fascinates.
So, Christian, you are invited to speak, and I'm glad that you and Rims, all y'all were able to talk. I love that. So I'm super pumped about that. But please, Christian, hop in if you can, because I think that's it. I'm actually seeing a lot of the same stuff, Cliff, and in terms of that being such a critical county.
The party registration, and they're not requesting ballots there. The number of requested ballots statewide in Philadelphia is off by well over 300,000 versus where it was 4 years ago. Now, obviously, a lot of that is because of COVID, right? That really changed the game. But you would think if it was just COVID explaining the collapse in Democrats, then we would also be seeing an implosion as well, right? And we're dropping as well, which again is partially COVID. But when you look at the ratio between Republican and Democrat ballot requests, we're doing far better on a percentage basis than we were 4 years ago. And so I think when you look at all things being equal, right? When you equalize out, all the variables related to COVID, there's absolutely no question that the data is pointing to the fact that we are in a stronger position right now than we were 4 years ago.
Christian, finally, I heard your voice. You sound wonderful, by the way, and thank you for bringing that information to our party. It's always a trick, to know whether do I post that on my network? Does Cliff, do we tell the world that and have Kamala's cronies go and publish it and then go to, you know what I mean? I don't know. What do we do, Christian, on that regard?
Let me jump in, Christian, real quick. Okay. I get called out all the time on these people like, Cliff, why are you telling them?
Yeah.
Listen, Democrats are staring at these numbers at 10 times the rate than we are.
Yeah.
People say, oh, you're going to motivate the voter. I'm like, listen, no. They're already spending millions of dollars on their mail-in ballot requests, which is why they still have hundreds of thousands more than we do for the 2024 election. So I think we should be very loud about it. I think if we share the numbers and have transparency, I think it inspires people.
Yeah.
To think that this election is heading in the wrong direction. And so I don't really back down from that. Democrats look at this stuff every minute of every day. And finally, in 2024, we as Republicans are doing the same thing. And I think understanding that this is the best projection of how the election is going to happen.
Yeah.
I like the numbers where they stand.
And by the way, I asked that sort of facetiously, maybe rhetorically, but I think you're right. I think, with only 48 days left, guys, just put everything out there, connect with everybody you can on this call, right? You should be going through and adding and following the people that join this because they probably have common interest. They probably want to win just like you and we want to win our country back. But Christian, thank you so much for sharing that information. I'll be able to hear in the recording you guys talking in your beautiful radio voices, and I'll have to jump in and we'll have to do it some other time. Yeah, please.
To give you guys an idea of how strong of a position that we are in as we're, heading into the final stretch here.
Mhm.
Alone, not looking at anywhere else in the state. Democrats are off by 82,000 requested ballots versus this time 4 years ago.
Good.
Margin that Trump supposedly lost Pennsylvania by 4 years ago. He lost by 80,000 votes. Democrats
That's
are
right.
82,000 requested ballots in one count.
That's right. You're trying to get me all excited, man. Thank you. That's beautiful. And thank you to Tommy who posted exactly that, which is he said in our comment section, 2020, we fell short by 80,600 votes. If you're out there, by the way, thank you, Christian. Appreciate that. But if you're out there with you, whether you're with me in the Trump 2024, Trump Force, etc., and I'm aggregating all these beautiful groups, and you're wondering, does my volunteering make a difference? I want you to just think for a second, just like that kumbaya. If you saw it on my YouTube, I went on this stream about the fact that my wife's like, how's he doing in the polls? I'm like, look, he's actually doing really good because 3% of the electorate doesn't say they support him when they do. Okay. It's called the hidden Trump voter. It's a real thing. He's going to win this election probably as a result of that because no one really wants to answer pollsters anyway. But 80,600, are you kidding me? For every 1,000 to 2,000 postcards, you're probably getting 50 to 100 votes, right? For every, how many door knocks? I mean, within the PHAs, Cliff, I'd like to know, because I actually got down every 12 doors equals about one vote. That's something I've worked with the RFK campaign and a previous one of the campaign directors on. What do you think? I mean, I think every 12 doors, every 10, what do you think? What do you think the analogy or number is?
Yeah, the left actually has the best literature on this, and I love taking the money and the time and the research they do and using it for free. So the left says that it's for every 9 conversations you have, you're able to add a vote.
Oh, good. Okay.
So if you do the math, though, and once again, I don't like to sugarcoat things, so I'll be real with everybody here. You're not knocking on 9 doors and talking to 9 people, right? A typical
Correct.
Say 25%, 1 out of every 4. Some days, if you're on Saturday, it's much higher. But that means 9 times 4. I mean, you got to knock on 36 doors based on the left's literature to add a vote. So, to me, it's one of the most impactful ways when you look at dollars spent. When they talk about, postcards are fantastic because it's personalized, right? But a lot of these just generic mailers the left sends out, as well as we send out, the amount of money it costs to send those versus the returns. I would much rather people talking with folks face to face, writing personalized hand card, and honestly, personalized text. If they're personalized, they just go much further.
Well, and that's interesting because the enthusiasm for Kamala is all it's artificial and not really it doesn't have that tangibility factor that Trump does. So maybe if we talked even 8 or 8.5, I think there could be something there. We won't know. So the bottom line is go sign up 3 new volunteers with PA Chase and go knock on 50 doors in a day, right? I mean, we got to be able to do that because each voter does matter. And a lot of those voters, Cliff, I know you see this out in the field, are probably going to be those same people that either low propensity or the ones that are unwilling and unable to tell a pollster that they support Trump when they do. Are you seeing those conversations, Cliff?
Oh yeah, I mean, I do think after the assassination attempts, people that I thought would never wear a hat that I knew were Trump people. I mean, it's much more. People are much more willing in my mind, but I think your math is probably right. I think you said 3%. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are going to be quiet or not really involved, or I don't want to say ashamed, but they're in these social circles where they can't say it. But when they get into the voting booth, guess what? They're voting for Trump.
Yeah.
I still think you have a piece of that. I don't think it's a silent majority like it was in 16, where I think it was probably closer to 10% of voters that were very quiet about it because you get ridiculed.
Now you and Christian are just trying to make me all pumped up tonight, man. You tell me, the numbers and exactly that. If it's 10%, it's game, set, match. But guys, every single voter matters. We love the difference between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party is just real simple. We're actually the party of peace. We're the party of prosperity. We're the party of openness. The word progressive, whether it's through censorship that the Democrats do, whether it's through the constant castigation of Trump supporters, calling them Trumpsters, etc. We are the party of embracing diversity. I mean, it's crazy to think that people think we're not, but the bottom line is get out there and talk to voters. I want to just a quick, as we recap, we've only got about 2 or 3 more minutes left. I got to pick up my little guy from soccer, and I got a couple of things.
Yeah, some good numbers that I think you would like.
Please. Of course, and we get
Yeah, in 2020, I think what that M in MAGAs, that should be moms and men, right? Because men voted for Trump in Pennsylvania by 11 points in 2020, but they fell short in turnout by 6 points. So 6 points more women voted than men. The men who did vote went for Trump by 11 points. If we get that number equalized, boom, there's the election.
Beautiful.
Montgomery County, I would love for you to just push it to whoever. Most people don't even know that the early voting started today. We got to push it and get people out there. And I would recommend even normal day of voters just go vote early to set the narrative. And then I did send Swamp the Vote information to that dad in Iowa with the 12 kids.
Well,
donations that I've gotten. They are going to put Swamp the Vote.
Okay, let's do this real quick, Tommy, because those are all wonderful. Guys, if you know anybody in Norristown, Pottstown, Lansdale, King of Prussia, Ambler, Bluebell, Collegeville, Conshohocken, Hatboro, Glenside, Jenkintown, Willow Grove, North Wells, Plymouth Meeting, Montgomeryville, Royersville. Okay, there's got to be some people out here, right, that know Bryn Mawr, Soudertown, Horsham, Harleyville, Hatfield, East Greenville, Skipack, Elkins Park, Eagleville, Gilbertston, Lafayette Hill, Fort Washington. I just gave you a ton of cities, okay? We let the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I guarantee you know somebody there. Montgomery County has 850,000 people. It is the first county to be allowing the voting to take place. You've got to call and text tonight. Do not wait. This is a make or break election, guys. We're so blessed, and I'm so blessed to kind of be the liaison on the ground to bring all these forces together. The brilliance of Cliff Maloney, the unwittered, untattered persistence of Scott Pressler, myself as just the online, the mouthpiece that brings all these startups and all these beautiful people together, all these beautiful patriots. You've got to do something. And I always close the call with the simple call to action, which is that I've invited Cliff on the call, phchase.com. He's doing such a wonderful job. And I think each and every one of you just need to do something. And what I mean by that, I know, Tommy, you've heard this every call, and Sherry has too. God bless you guys for listening. My wife says I repeat myself, but it's because you can remember it that way. As my dad is a nephrologist, he's a kidney doctor, right? He has dialysis clinics. He's a startup guy, came from nothing to success because of grit that way. As my dad is a nephrologist, he's a kidney doctor, right? He has dialysis clinics. He's a startup guy, came from nothing to success because of great entrepreneurship. And he always tells me, he says, Ross, number one question I get from type 2 diabetics is, Dr. Blankenship, which diet should I be on? And my dad is very funny. He's kind of outgoing. If you guys can't tell, I'm a little outgoing extrovert. He's like, well, Sam, he's like, just pick something. Okay. Pick something. Low carb, low sugar, low sodium, low potassium, low fat, low whatever the hell. He says, just pick something, because at the end of the day, by picking one thing and sticking to it, something will work. Okay. And I want you to think about that, because that's a mindset. We have 48 days. And whether you feel comfortable knocking on doors, download the PHACE app and walk around with the great patriot, Cliff Maloney, download Early Vote Action, download Turning Point, just pick something and do it, period. You cannot wait for the Democrats. The only thing they're good at is not policy, it's elections. Period. End of story. And so you've got to pick your own diet. I don't care actually what you eat. I just care that you go out and you knock on doors, if that's your thing. I think that's my favorite thing to do. That you're writing postcards, that you're making phone calls, you're writing those personalized texts. Because if we don't do this, our country is going to hell. I promise you that. I've seen elections come and go. I've been very blessed to be part of some really cool campaigns, but I've never seen something. We're on the brink of absolute socialism. Marxism, which is Kamala's father. This is not a joke. This is not a conspiracy. If we get a percentage of that nonsense in America, say goodbye to your kid's future. Period. End of story. 20 million people have crossed the border. What are we doing? How many do we actually know? Okay. Inflation, all-time high. I don't care if Jerome Powell lowers interest rates by 5%. He can't cover up for the nonsense. You have to pick your diet. You have to pick your app. You have to start fighting now. This is the election. Next time my beautiful better three quarters, my wife says, how's it going? I want to say, well, we're up in the odds, but more importantly, the vibes. We're going to kick the, you know what, out of the Kamala and her, the superhero in the chat box. I will send you 100 postcards. I bought every single one of them. Tommy, I'm still trying to send you the 100 that you won in the last competition. Sherry, God bless you. Know I've got nothing but love. Tell your husband he's an honorable patriot for letting you be part of these calls. Not letting you do whatever the hell you want, but for being part of these calls. Thank you. Thank you to all the blessed volunteers and the patriots and great Americans who are making this country and helping us take this country back. And we will do that. Cliff, I don't know if you're still there. I hope you are, but I'm going to end with one final note if you are there. Are you still there with us? All right. Guys, I said this. I'm going to keep these time stamped, okay? But this is a recorded call. It's a recorded YouTube stream. If you don't subscribe to me on YouTube, please go ahead and do that, because it's all just Trump love, baby. But I'll match up to $1,000 if you just post a recent screenshot. I'm only going to leave it up for 24 hours. You've got to repost the tweet and let people hear this recording. But go to phchase.com and two things: either volunteer to help Cliff win America back in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, or two, give $50, give $100. It makes a difference. I believe he's using that money wisely, and I know that we can win this country back by supporting him, Turning Point Action, etc. And I'm going to continue to be the umbrella to bring it all together. Cliff, God bless you, brother. We'll talk about your Jack P story that some other time. My father-in-law lives in Old Philly. I knew exactly where you were, and I thought it was very funny, but that's a different conversation. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Cliff, before we wrap up, brother?
I just want to say thank you, Ross. You're a patriot. Appreciate you doing these, support the cause. If anybody out there, like Ross said, phas.com, need volunteers, need 175-hour ballot chasing sponsors, covers a full day. Look, at the end of the day, We've got to match the Democrats at their tactics. With what we're doing across all these organizations and across the entire right wing, is we're finally fighting fire with fire. Let's win this thing. Thanks, Ross.
That's right, Cliff. Thank you. God bless you, brother. You're all great patriots. Follow me at Ross Blankenship. Ross is right on TikTok, YouTube. Let's do this. I want to see your tag me in your photos, tag me in your postcards, make those phone calls, pick your diet, and make it happen. Let's take our country back. God bless you, patriots.